before we get going, I need everybody to get out a piece of paper, please. Something to write with.
What are you doing?
Alright, so a couple things with this piece of paper. One, I don't need your name on it or anything unless you want to have it on there. It does not matter to me. Here's what I want you to do with that piece of paper here in just a little bit. I've got about 9 or 10 minutes of some things I want to share and talk with you about. During that time, any ideas that pop up into your head or thoughts, I want you to draw them on that paper. Or if there's something that I say or something that I share that you think is important, I also want you to draw or sketch or whatever it is on your paper. Okay, pretty straightforward. I'll explain what we're going to do with that here towards the end. Just something that I want you to kind of work on. I'm not judging your artistic ability. I'm not giving you points. This is not something you're going to turn in for a grade because I don't care about any of that from my point of view. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Mr. Maurer. I do work here. I'm an instructional coach. So I don't necessarily have a class. I work with teachers and students in various capacities on projects, brainstorming, developing things. I have the room that was by the old main office with the Legos and the 3D printers and all that other kind of nerd stuff. So I used to taught as a teacher here for 10 years, and now I'm into this job. I'm here today because I've been working with Mrs. Barnes on this project kind of behind the scenes. And we've got some leads, we've got some things that we want to challenge you with beyond the scope of just turning in homework to make your teachers and mom and dads happy. So before I tell you about all that, I just want to remind you that at one point in my life, I was an 8th grader, okay? Before male pattern baldness gene hit and I lost my hair and now have to shave because it looks really bad. So I remember certain things about middle school. And I remember what it's like to be in your shoes where teachers don't understand who you are, we're really boring, school isn't always the most engaging thing, or maybe it is sometimes, all right? You're just trying to figure out everything there is about life, okay? It was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago, but I do remember those pieces. So I'm not just wake up one day to be a Mr. Maurer, okay? I was a kid once trying to figure out all the things as well. What I'm going to challenge you today is to do something and not just sit and wait. So if you think about your entire day and what just happened not even 5 minutes ago, you did exactly that. You walked in here, maybe you were talking to your friends or whatever, flirting, all the things that go on in middle school life, but you got to your seat and you just sat and you waited. You waited for an adult to get you started. Had we just sat here, you would have continued to sit there and not done much of anything until we said something. And we probably would be an interesting experiment to try that sometime, where and see how long you'd actually sit and just look at your friends and talk until something actually got done. Okay, what I am challenging you to do with this project and with the things I'm going to share with you is not to wait. To actually, as students, do something and move into action. All right, so I'm reading a book, well, I've read it once and reading it again, called Pencils of Promise. And the first mantra chapter says, why be normal? Okay, and who do you want to be? Which is the question you've probably been plagued a million times through your parents and education career. And I'm not here to say, who are you? Because I don't know who you are. And you probably don't know exactly who you are either. Every day is just a different story. But challenging you to figure out a story. What's your story? What's your angle? And it's how do we get that out there? Because people need to hear it. Okay, you have a power. You have an untapped source of student voice that people aren't utilizing. And by people, I mean you. It needs to be used. And it needs to get out there. Okay? So I'm aware of this project, and you've done some social experiments. You've interviewed some people, maybe you've done some other things. I haven't seen any examples of your particular work. So I've asked the other groups just quickly to share with me just a couple things that you've learned from those experiments or interviews.
This is section 4 of your reflection. What did you learn?
So isn't this an interesting social experiment? Look at this. All of you are hoping that I don't look at you directly in the eye. You're all hoping that somebody else raises their hand, because it's not cool to raise your hand and share. Right? I get it, okay? And every other class there was like that. So now that we've cleared the air, I don't need a share out from everybody, but just a couple things, because somebody had to learn something. Yes?
Okay, when me and my friend Spencer did it, we learned that usually what they think of teenagers was the past experience, how their teenagers acted.
Okay, yeah, so it's all based on kind of their life experiences of what they've had?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
When I asked people the questions, they kept judging them on their appearance and not that they know them how they look.
Right, and appearance is huge. Okay, and that's something that you think about, how much we judge people, whether intentionally or not, based on how they look. You think about yourself, we're all guilty, it's human nature, it's not something you can like avoid, it's a matter of what you do with those decisions. Alright? I'll give you a prime example just because you shared that. My daughter had strep throat Friday, but she didn't get the sore throat. Her whole skin broke out in blisters and a rash, and it turned bright red. She looked like death. Her skin started peeling. She looked really, really bad. She's 3. But she's an extrovert. She'll go talk to anybody. So she's at soccer game Sunday for my other daughter, and she's not contagious. She's clear. But she was on the playground, and she couldn't figure out why all these parents were pulling their kids away from her. And she just could not figure out why nobody wanted to play with her. All because she looked really, really bad. Alright? But that was just one thing. It was like, there it is. There's an obvious thing. I was at the football game Friday, and I shared this with the morning group. I forgot to share this with the other group. Of how, sitting there, I was above the high school student section, but I could also see out where all you guys congregate there in that tailgate area, or whatever they call it. How much adults judge you guys. They sat there and whisper and point. I think most of them spent more time looking at you guys than they actually did the football game. Of course, it wasn't much of a game. Alright, so that does happen. Okay, appearance is everything. Good. What else? Let's get one more. One more? Yeah, go for it.
I don't really know what to add because I'm a breakup, but like that appearance does matter because they call us tongue, that we look tongue.
Yeah. It is an appearance funny. Some people say they don't care about appearance. They do so much more to drastically be different from the rest, and yet they're basically saying that appearance does matter because they're trying to go against appearance.
Thanks.
You know, it is what it is. So here's the thing. We can have all these ideas. You guys went out and did this project. You've done your reflections and all that good stuff. So you are loaded with ideas. The positive and the bad and the neutral. Or maybe you're just completely brain dead and don't have an idea. You're waiting for it. Okay? But it's all there. But ideas are useless. And they're useless unless you move into action. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take the ideas that you have, things that you've gathered, and we're going to do something with them. Okay? So there was a study last year, 2013. It involved 56,000 students, 200 schools, grades 6 through 12. And they went through this series of questions. And not to go through all the data, but a couple things I want to share with you that I think are pretty important. And it all connects back to this Few Bad Apples project. Okay? One of them was believing in yourself. And 57% of the students said teachers make an effort to get to know me, which I think is a pretty sad number. There's 43% of students that don't feel that teachers are taking time to get to know them. Okay? That number should be higher. Okay? And Bettendorf was not part of this. This is just all over the nation. But I like to flip it and go, okay, so we can sit here and point fingers and we can blame, make excuses, because we're all really, really good at that. All right? But we have to be proactive. So then the question comes back that I would have liked to ask students is, what did you do to make sure that that teacher had no choice but to get to know you? What did you do? Did you introduce yourself? Did you show them what you were doing? Or did you just sit and wait and hope that they might interact with you? So it's a two-way street. Okay? This one, 33% of students felt that they respect each other as students. So think about all the times you get frustrated where your parents, someone in your family doesn't listen to you or we just don't understand, or teachers, or coaches, or adults, or whoever it might be. But yet, you don't even have enough respect for yourselves, even put anything together to even start to change that. Okay? That's a pretty alarming number right there. This one here, develop a strong sense of purpose. 52% of teachers are willing to learn from students. Okay, that's also a sad number. As a teacher, and as a coach, and everything else, as a parent, I've probably learned more from kids than I have any adult. So this goes back to what are you doing to prove to the adults and to teachers and whoever's in your life that you have something worthy of sharing. And if you don't believe you have something worthy of sharing, you're wrong. Because we do. We have something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's trying to teach me how to figure out Minecraft so I can actually figure out what my son's talking about. Okay? Or maybe it is a bigger action campaign. I don't know what it is. Okay? But we have something. And what are you doing to let people know that you have something to offer? All right? Happens at school. 44% do not feel a sense of worth at school. 40% do not feel engaged. 14 don't see a connection between school and their futures. All right, so a girl in the first period mentioned that she was frustrated that curriculum, the way school is, doesn't apply to kids. It doesn't connect with them. That they don't like the way schools are ran. So my thing was, okay, so that's a complaint. What if you put together a policy and let adults and people know how kids learn best? Do you think she'd get a gathering of other kids? Do you think she's the only one that feels that way?
Yeah.
There's probably some of you that don't think school applies to help in the way that you want to learn. But if you were to put together a plan or agenda, you could get a following. Okay, so it's not here to revolt against school. That's not my intent with this. But it gets you thinking that we develop solutions. We bring awareness to it, which is what this survey has done, and now they're working on solving some of those things. And you've done that. You've done the experiment and the interview. You've gathered. You've found out some things. So now what are we going to do with it besides turning into a teacher for a grade and then moving on and forgetting that we ever did anything? Okay? So there was a student voice conference this weekend in New York City. And in there, this was mentioned that if your school doesn't have a group that matches your interest, you should start one. I'm not suggesting that we start a group. But what I'm suggesting is that we move into action. We need to do something with the work that you've done. That doesn't happen enough. All right? And it needs to happen more. It's also scary. It's scary to go do something because you could fail. It may not work. And that's what keeps people from trying. All right? But you have to get out there. And so that's what we're going to do. We are going to move into action. So the beauty of this project is there are a lot of projects in this school. You guys have been in PBL now for 3 years, and you know that there are some things we've claimed as projects that haven't been projects, and there's some been projects that have been really good. This is a project. And the reason and the way that we know that this is truly a project is one, is that there is no set path. There is not an answer key. We do not know what's going to happen from this point on. Okay? I was talking to Mrs. Melcher and Mr. Thompson actually this morning. We're trying to figure out what are we going to do with this. And the reason that we don't know, because in the next couple of days, it's all based on what you decide to do. From there, we can develop the framework and help make it happen. Okay? This is not some canned thing. We haven't done this before. We don't know what could happen. Nothing could result from your work. Or we could find ourselves shaking hands with the president in 2 months. You don't know. But what I do know